If you like this podcast, share it with your friends. You can follow us on social media either on Facebook or on Twitter at cleverramblings. If you have any feedback or comments, please mail us at cleverramblings@gmail.com or visit our website cleverramblings.weebly.com. As always, we really appreciate you listening, and now enjoy today's podcast. Welcome everyone, this is the Clever Ramblings podcast. My name is Em.
And my name is Ivan.
And today we're gonna go with the two-topic format again. And this time we're gonna talk about a recent event that happened here in Europe, which was the establishment of Article 13. Maybe some of you heard about it. We're gonna talk about that, what we think about that. Overall, what does it mean to the internet, and in general, how far should censorship in this case go? And the second topic is gonna be something a little bit personal, what in our mind were some of the biggest regrets, or what would be something that we would do different if we could relive it. And overall, how does events affect you in a positive and negative way? Does negative also form your character, or is it not the case? So that's what I'm gonna talk about today. So Article 13, I think that's the first we should talk about. Did you hear anything about that? I know you live in Europe for like a month, like then Brexit is happening, so I don't know if it's big in Great Britain because they have other problems. I don't know.
No, the only thing I'm currently thinking about is Brexit. You know, who knows? You know, I mean, that's it's gonna be interesting. It's like a month away.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, people were saying that even if we leave no deal, that like there's still like some sort of stipulation that for 2 years or something like that, then nothing really changes. So I don't know, but we'll see. I mean, basically, like we're fucked, but we'll see.
We can, in talking about a month, we can see what's gonna happen. We can talk about that.
Maybe I won't have internet, M.
But in a month, I think they exit on the 29th, so that's in like a month and 2 days. So we have 2 days to talk about that before you get cut off.
No, but then, I mean, people were saying that possibly like Netflix won't get could get like canceled or something because of, you know, like the licensing for Netflix, which to me is even worse than internet, because I only really want the internet for Netflix, obviously. So like if I can't have Netflix, then I might as well just not have the internet.
We just use a VPN from like Germany or somewhere. It's not that you have a British account, you have a US account, so should be fine.
No, I'll use it as a time for me to be one with nature.
Sure, yeah, visit the cows again.
So I haven't really heard much about Article 13. The only thing I heard, as far as like, at least in Germany, that they started censoring Facebook more recently. But I think I heard that while I was in Germany, I think in 2017. I was about to say 2007. I was like, wow, that's dumb. That's like, I'm like super old then. But no, like 2017, I heard something that they started censoring Facebook more or something like that. But I don't really know too much about what Article 13 is.
What they basically decided to do is that now the platforms that users can upload shit to, like YouTube, for example, like a video, or in the case of Facebook or Instagram, pictures. Now the platform is responsible for if there's a copyright infringement. So that was basically mean before you could upload it, and if somebody recognized that this copyright infringement, then they strike it, and then, for example, YouTube has to see if this is really the case, and then they remove it. But now they are responsible from the beginning that no such thing, a copyright picture or whatever, is uploaded. And the only possible way to do that, because they don't want to get sued all the time, is to establish an upload filter. So that basically checks the pictures and the videos for copyright things. And now there's, of course, the big problem. First of all, how do you construct such an upload filter? You would have to build a database that basically involves all copyright stuff, all the music, all the pictures, or whatever was created, and then check it against it. So that's from the beginning very hard. And secondly, now if you do memes or like satire or something, you show clips of other stuff. And now, of course, because persons are checking that, or like real people, they can say, oh, that's not copyright infringement, but you're doing a comment or whatever. But now if you use the upload filter, of course they don't want to get sued, so they just block it from the beginning. So for example, a lot of them have a fear that it's going to restrict free speech because you can't comment on anything anymore. And the other thing is you can bypass the upload filter if you buy a license from the musician, from the company who has the copyright on that. So that means if you buy that, you don't have to include it in the upload filter, and they fear that like small companies can't afford that, so they have to get basically bankrupt because they can't build a database because it's too expensive, and they can't buy the license from the artists, and thereby the big companies like Facebook or Instagram get even more powerful, and it's gonna get even more of a monopoly compared to like before. So a lot of people are afraid that it's gonna restrict free speech and that it's gonna make the predominant companies even bigger, and the small ones can't live on the market anymore.
I swear, we talked in this podcast about like how maybe whether the world was getting better or worse. I just man, it seems like we turn around all the time, and I mean, of course, this is news bias, right? Like we'll know the negative stuff more than the news will, and the media will report more negative stuff than positive stuff. But it's just like why? It's like because here's the thing, right? When YouTube used to do it, like I remember like YouTube got big on like copywriting like music and stuff because people would upload like the music from other artists on YouTube, and a lot of stuff started getting put down. But then what ended up happening was that you could change the music ever so slightly, like not even make the whole. Some people make the whole song a little slower or a little faster, or they may like speed up, I think, like a little part of like one part that they thought was not as significant, or slow that part down. And therefore it's not the same song technically.
Yeah.
So like then you could upload. So it was ways to bypass this. And I feel like that if you have if you amass a database of all the stuff that is, I feel like how is this really helping, right? Besides people who just share things.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you share it, which in most cases, like say for example, if an artist releases music on Twitter or something, and I share it on Facebook, and say like it's a snippet of the actual song, well, then you're saying like Facebook or YouTube, whatever, would take that away, right? Which is not what the artist wants, and not what the company, the record label, will want either. So because you wanted to share as many people, because now we live by streaming, and so it's not even about, oh, are they gonna bootleg this or whatever like that, but you want to get the most amount of streams as possible.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think it's in a way, I think it's gonna backfire. I feel like it's kind of counterproductive. Like I understand, like it's people's property and stuff, but I think at some point, it's like for example, to me it would be like this, right? It's a good example. And of course, all of my good examples come from hip hop. But like rappers, they advertise a lot of things, right? So for example, like wearing Gucci or Rolex watches or all these type of things. And there's always been a debate. Well, we advertise them for free. We give them free promotion, but yet they don't invest in us. So they won't give an artist like stake in a company. They'll let them like maybe make a product, but then they won't give them like ownership as much of that product, right? But still, like basically music videos and stuff, like the reason you don't have to censor out like the name is because you're freely promoting that person's brand or that company's brand, and they wouldn't sue you because it would make no sense.
Yeah.
right? Because it's like if I come out with a song like you know like I don't know, there's a song called Gucci Gang, and if you censored the song, it's like, well, no one is going to Gucci because like especially like I doubt many people are just going to Gucci just because, oh my god, I just love Gucci. They're like, oh, this entertainer has a song called Gucci Gang, or has, you know, was talking about Gucci in this particular song, or has it in a music video. I like that, so I'm gonna go try to buy it, right? So in a sense, they're getting a lot of free promotion. A lot of ways that I see, and that's not just for Gucci, that's for like every other, like basically anything gets free promotion from a lot of stuff. And so I see that like sharing something in a lot of cases is free promotion. Right? Like if you're sharing a meme or if you're sharing something like that, you're giving that, you're saying, oh, this is funny, or blah blah, this is promoting something for a person, which is definitely not losing them money. It may have mattered more about sharing stuff like that when we didn't have streaming. Right? When it was only you had like if it'd be bad if I shared a link to a snippet of your song, to like your song or something like that or whatever, if it didn't lead to, you know, record sales, because that's when you had to go to iTunes or you had to get a physical CD. But now it's like, no, most people have a streaming service already that they pay for, and that kind of killed all bootlegging in some way. So I just think it's weird, and I think it's weird because sometimes, especially with memes, it's like sometimes people are creative with memes and they're just funny, and it's like it's not meant. Like these people aren't trying to generate income necessarily off them. It's just to laugh. I think it's just people are just is hurting creativity, and I feel like in a way it's going to end up backfiring on the companies that, or the big companies that want it, because they won't. None of them will have free or will have as much free promotion.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
people share stuff.
Also, I don't think it's like, I don't know how about you, but it's not that like everywhere you go on on YouTube or whatever there is copyright infringement. I think a lot of the time, even the YouTubers, they recognize that they get striked if they play like more than 5 seconds. I don't know how the time span is actually.
I think it's like 10 seconds for a song.
So they even don't do that. So it's not that in every video where I come across, I could flag them for copyright infringement. It's not like this huge problem that you would think like you have to do something about that. Like the artists are losing so much money because everyone is publishing their song for free, or their movies or their TV shows. It's not like that. I don't come across a lot of stuff that is really for an expanded period of time where I could say he either had to pay for it or he just like he did it illegally. So I don't think that's like this huge problem. And again, who decides that this Article 13 should be established? Old people. I don't know about how it is in other countries, but our chancellor, she even said like 2 or 3 years ago, the internet is something new for us. And sorry, like the internet been around for like I think
Since
at
the 80s,
least
right? 82, I think.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And it's really took mid 2000s probably when YouTube started. It really took off, and it's been here for a long time. And these people then decide what should be done with the internet. That's like stupid. Why don't young people do that? And also a lot
Because the
of
people who are in power are not the ones who are most qualified to make the decisions.
Exactly.
And that's the problem with the world. Is that, and that's why I say like sometimes I think the world's getting worse, because you like now technology and all these things are happening so fast that you can't really afford to be old, like old-minded necessarily. That's what I mean. Like, not because there's people who are old and still very like open-minded and stuff, and they get things right. But you can't afford to be old or narrow-minded anymore, because things are changing so fast, and legislation has to change fast. Like, it shouldn't take years to pass a policy on something. Like, by that time, it's already, we moved on to the next thing already.
Yeah, I don't get it. Especially a lot of people, of course, did protest and they collected signatures, and they just don't care, apparently. Of course, you have to keep in mind that some companies, of course, they want to sell the licenses too. That's what's gonna bring them additional money, because okay, now they get money if you put it on a streaming platform, or if you, for example, put the movie on Maxdome or whatever. But now, of course, if there's anything that's related to their stuff, they could get extra cash because they sell the license to YouTube, for example, and get money this way. And I bet you that a lot of lobbyists of these copyright companies, whatever they are representing, went to the politicians and said, like, we need to do something. Like, that's a huge problem. We need to change something. I think that's also, again, money also doesn't change the world for a better place, but whatever. But I think that also played a huge role, because I don't know any like regular person who would say we need to change that, and yeah, Article 13 is like a good thing overall. Like in this case, censorship of free speech in my mind. Because, for example, commentary. If somebody says some fucked up shit, you can't comment on that anymore. For example, I watch a show about politics in the States, so this is not affected, but he always plays short snippets of like Fox News, for example, or of some politician saying something on TV, and he comments on that, and that's in my mind like a good thing. You want to hear like the what he thinks, and then maybe what other people think, and you build up your own mind. But now they can't do this anymore, because in this case, for example, the TV channel could say like, either you buy the license for X amount of money, or you can't show anything on your platform anymore, and automatically this gets blocked by the upload filter. So I think that's a huge problem.
I mean, it's just, and here's, I'm back to like, yeah, I agree with what you're saying, but like also with like even with like the music scenario, or even like, no, to use your example, like the political stuff.
Mm.
Even if their talk is negative press, right? Even if it's negative, the streams are still going up because people will run to see that. Like
Yeah.
if everyone goes to the original like interview that this politician did, and say it's on like their official page,
Yeah.
it gets millions and millions of views, which, you know, YouTube would then pay you for.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like even like in a music example, say like in a recent example with R. Kelly, like when they came out with a documentary on R. Kelly about how, you know, he was this predator and everything like that, right? Even though this was all negative stuff that was said about him, right? His streams went up, which means because people wanted to match because they said like a lot of his songs were about particular like abuse instances.
Yeah.
That he committed. So people were trying to match the stories that they heard in the documentary with the songs. So then his stream, but they had to listen. They listened to the songs because they all have streaming. They have like Apple or Spotify, any of those, and they basically, in a way, they paid him in some way, right? He gets a certain amount of money. I mean, it's not like necessarily a ton money, but like, you know, he'll get money from that. So even if you get negative publicity, you're still gonna make money in the streaming era.
Yeah.
Right? It just doesn't mean it. And you know how I feel about censorship. I believe that no matter how fucked up it is or how stupid it is, people should be able to say all the stupid, fucked up shit that they want to say. I'm more because I believe they should listen. They have their opinion, whatever like that. I would only be worried if the people who I regard as being intelligent and as being rational and good people, if they then follow that shit, I'm more concerned about them and about the audience, what the audience is doing. Because a clown by themselves is not going to do anything.
Yeah.
But if everyone's laughing at the clown, then the clown believes that they then have more power if everyone's laughing. And so even then, man, I just think censorship is always bad. It's usually bad it's bad in every way. I think people should be able to say what they want to say and voice their opinion, and then you just people should choose whether to listen to it or not.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that's, you know, it's pretty simple. Like, that's it. You know what I mean? Like, I think Article 13 is not gonna, it just makes things worse. And I don't understand, like, this whole, it seems like this war against creativity. It's like, for what? Like, just let people create, man. It's like people people will get like the people who need to get paid will get paid. It's not a problem about that. It's just like in a way it's like, oh, making it hard. I think more what it is, I think it's about monopolies.
Yeah.
And it's more about certain people wanting to be more greedy. It has nothing, because the thing is, it's not like they won't lose money. They won't, like, they'll still be getting money. No one will lose money. If anything, more people will start making more money. But the thing is, I think certain people just want it for themselves. And I think that's what it is, because to me there is, and also they're probably just very ignorant about how the internet works, which is also terrible.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so therefore it's just a lose situation. So I guess we'll see how this goes, but.
Yeah, I think there's still the possibility. I'm not sure it has to go through some other like stage of the European Parliament or whatever, and they gonna say if it's really gonna happen. But it looks like
Looks like it's gonna get
happen.
passed.
Yeah, and if I think it's in the end of February or something, and then you have to establish it until June or something. So it's gonna take a while until it's really established, or like this year or next year, I'm not even sure. But it's gonna take a while, but then it's gonna really change everything. To be honest, it's gonna be so bad. I don't know if then basically I can't see any memes anymore, because Instagram has to censor that, and I can't see that anymore. What I'm doing in my free time, that's like a big thing.
They must really be pissed off at social media.
I don't fucking know, man.
Because if you think about it, that's what's going to impact the most.
Yeah.
Right? Like, Vine's already, dead. But
yeah.
But like I think because that seems like a direct, like in a way, it's really only going to affect them, because it's like what else is it going to affect? Like, I mean, I'm going to watch YouTube stuff that's probably going to be from the original channel anyway. So I don't have to worry about that. You know what I mean? So like, and other than that, I mean, it's going to really affect meme culture or reposting short clips of stuff. But I mean,
but still, if there's anything in there in the video that would be considered a copyright strike, that's gonna get blocked from the beginning. So if they use some program, for example, on PC, some program or some game, it's gonna get blocked. I don't fucking know how they actually handle it, because of course they don't specify that, because they don't have any clue how to do it. They just, probably some lobbyists tell them you have to do this and that, and then they said, yeah, we're gonna do that, but nobody has an actual clue how to do it. Just that people think you can program an upload filter right now that checks everything against everything is just stupid. That you see how the politicians have no clue how the internet works or what's possible or feasible, because how that's not possible. So I don't know. We'll see if it's happening, and if so, what does it do to the internet?
I don't know what to tell you, man.
It's getting worse and worse. The world is getting worse and worse.
I'm just saying. I'm just like, I don't see the argument for like shit's getting better, but like.
Yeah, me neither. It's like every time it's just things getting worse and worse. There's nothing like positive happening.
Well, speaking of positive, I guess this is good time for us to go into our next segment. Will we regret talking about regret? That is the question.
What's one of biggest things?
Well, first, I mean, do you think that it makes sense when people say, I don't regret anything? Like, people say, like, it's everything that happened to me or that I've done has made me into the person I am today. Right? Which is what some people will say. Right? And so they'll say, I don't regret anything. But I think that situation may be a little bit different. Like, if, say, for example, you killed someone and now you're doing life in prison. Right? Like, I mean, some prisoners would be like, yeah, like, I learned a lot, and yeah, even though I'm here for the rest of my life, it changed me. I mean, some people may say, oh yeah, like that experience gave me more perspective and things like that. But, and sometimes it changed them, and even though I'm here and I can't, rectify it or anything like that, it still made me into the person I am today. But I think a lot of people who are in prison for the rest of their life for doing something, especially if they were younger, I think they regret that shit.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? I don't think that them. So that's just a easy case for me, like to where like I think that most people would say, yeah, I regret. I mean, and I think a lot of times in that situation, people are saying that, yeah, maybe it's a person that because they have no other choice but to view it that way.
Yeah.
They like in your mind, if you still regret it, you're just gonna like live that forever.
Yeah.
For the rest of your life, and you're never going to be able to cope with the fact that you're in prison for the rest of your life. So in that sense, I think it's somewhat of a coping mechanism for being locked up forever. I mean, so, but yeah, so I mean, for me personally, do I regret anything? I mean, this is funny because I talked to a friend of mine. Shout out to Elisa. I told her I'd shout her out this time.
Okay, sure.
So she'll just finally listen to the podcast, But, and she was basically saying like how, like basically that you like is against like sort of regretting things, right? Because I said sometimes I regret staying in situations for too long. So like if you feel like, yeah, this is not gonna work, or if you feel like that it's not really worth being friends with this person, or if it's not worth like giving your energy towards this person or this situation, then, and if you do it for longer than you should, and you're not really learning anything about it, like from it, then I would consider that kind of a regret. But also the only thing is that where she had a point is that, well, you probably did learn something, and also maybe that I'll learn something later on in life. Like maybe I just haven't learned the lessons yet. But that's a hypothetical, right?
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, that's what I say. That's the only things that I would say that I can think of that I would regret is like being in situations when I felt like, yeah, I should dip out, but I just didn't. So yeah, because then it's like it's exhausting, and it wastes a lot of your energy, and in a way it kind of like biases you for like new situations, because you're like, oh man, this is going to be the same thing, but it really is not the same thing. It's a new situation, but you're just so exhausted from the previous one that you can't see the goodness in the new ones. So I think in that sense, yeah, like I would say, if there's anything I regret stuff like that.
Yeah, I think in my case it's something that I learned now, took a while, but I regret that, is that a lot of the time when something bothered me, I didn't like immediately talk about that or like change something about that. For example, if it's a girl or whatever, didn't talk about that, but instead ignored that. And then of course that built up during the time, and then everything like exploded at 1 minute. I think that's something I regret, that I didn't talk about shit that bothered me from the beginning a lot of the time. That I just did ignore that, and I said to myself, it's gonna be fine, whatever. And now that's like one of the most important things for me. If there's something that bothers me, I'm gonna immediately talk about that. And that shaped my character. I don't know if it's for the best or the worst, because it led to some dumb situations, to say the least. But I think that's something I regret. But also in your case, or the general case you made about people regretting stuff, I think a lot of the time that's a coping mechanism with something bad that happened. You say, yeah, it shaped me, whatever. But a lot of the time, I think something you regret didn't shape you in the best ways. Maybe sometimes, but I think for a lot of people, it affected them in a negative way. Be it like be cheated on, or like trusting someone you shouldn't. I think a lot of the time that didn't have a positive effect of you, and you
Right.
try to cope with that by saying, no, it shaped me and it was good that I had this experience, now I know. But for example, if you trust someone and he for example cheats on you, say, oh, now I know how it feels, I don't want to me happening this again, so I'm gonna be like with my partner, I'm gonna talk about stuff like that and be like very specific what I want or whatever. But in another way, it build trust issues in yourself, and you probably can't trust people as good anymore than before.
Yeah, so like that's the thing. Because if you move from an environment where people ain't shit, and that and then that like that molds you, and then you move into an environment where everyone is amazing,
Yeah.
right? Just in an extreme case, then yeah, you've learned something from being around people who ain't shit, but at the same time, you're gonna be overly analytical of people who are good, and then that may push them away. So you end up pushing away good people. So I agree with you basically that it seems like I think if it biases people, I think a lot of times biases them in the wrong direction. And it can be beneficial, but there's always that negative part as well, right? Like you could have learned from trusting the wrong person, and then you know not to let yourself do that again. But at the same time, which is a good thing because then you're not as naive.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, you may not trust the person that you should trust just because they may have given you one signal that you see as a negative, but really it wasn't really that, you just were overthinking it. And so I think when bad situations happens, I think if you take away a positive, I think you also always take away a negative.
Yeah.
Whereas
That's
if you
a
only
good
have
way to say it, yeah.
whereas if you only have good experiences, theoretically, then I think you only take away good from it.
Yeah.
Usually. Right? So I think it is a coping mechanism a lot of times when people say like, oh, I don't regret anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's some stuff where I'm just like, nah, I shouldn't have even, like, why was I friends with that person? Why was why was I, you know what I mean? Like, it was just.
Or not like huge stuff like that built my character, trust issues, for example, but just for example, in my case, I regret that after I did my high school degree, I got immediately into college and didn't take a break for like a couple of months and just traveled the world. Went to like a lot of people go to Australia or South America or just overall traveling the world. I regret that I didn't take any time, but instead I worked for a couple of months and then I got right into college. So I regret that, for example. It didn't like really impact my character or whatever, but I regret that I didn't do that, for example.
I mean, I guess for me, I mean, I think I can think of real quick. I guess like when my dad tried to come back into my life. Well, when he tried to enter into my life, because he never was really there. But like, it just made me like I love him as a dad and everything because he helped to create me. But at the same time, it was like I feel like that interaction, that short interaction that we had, was basically mostly all negative.
Yeah.
And so I didn't need that. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like I should just be like, no, I don't like it's too late. I'm 16.
Yeah.
I don't really think that I need to like I don't need you in my life at this point. You know what I mean? I think I would have been not necessarily that much better off, but I think I would have been better. I mean that negative because to me in some way it prevented, like, even though like I still love him and I recognize that like bad stuff happened to him, just like bad stuff happens to everyone. At the same time, it still biased me. Like I wouldn't want to hang out with him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I don't want to see him. Right? I don't want really anything to do with him. And I felt like in a way I had that hope that maybe I would, or at least I'd rather it just not happen, because I wasn't really looking. I don't, not that I really hoped I would. I really didn't really think about that I would meet him. And then me being excited and then it being negative, I think it kind of tainted that whole possible relationship, because maybe he would have met me when I was 30.
Yeah.
And by that time, maybe I have kids and wife, whatever like that. And then maybe that would have been a better time for us to meet, or something like that. You never know, right? But when he entered, it was the wrong time, definitely.
Yeah.
So I think in that sense, I should just be like, no, I'm good. I don't really want to see him, whatever like that. But yeah, 'cause I don't think I learned anything from that situation besides not to hang out, not to hang around him like at all. So it's like, all right, bye. So like that's it. But yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think everyone has something you regret and you would change if you could. If you go back in the past and change something, you would do it. I think there's no like any person that said, no, I'm fine with everything I did. It made me the way I am. I think that's always something somebody regrets and would change if he could.
I bet you regret not always
saying
When
I love you.
yeah, exactly. I bet
That
yeah,
was
okay, good. I wasn't even thinking about that. You regret when you took off that I love you too, right? You asshole. Exactly,
That
yeah, that
was
was,
some drama back then.
huh?
That was some drama back then. I had to listen to that for like weeks.
Yep, and now you might have to hear it again now. Yep, that's terrible,
Why?
man.
I apologized on the podcast.
Nope. Nope, that was fucked up, man. So for those of you who are new listening, which are basically none of you, I said I love you to M at one end of the podcast, and he said it too, but he cut his part out, and so it was just me saying I love you. Then there was just no response, so I was just like left hanging out there by myself. And man, I tell you, when I gave him shit when I listened to that, I was like, oh really? That's what you gonna do? Then he tried to make it up the next podcast and stuff, but no, but I let him hear it for weeks. So yeah, so I bet you regret that. But I was gonna say I bet you regret not wearing your lederhosen every day.
Yeah, of course, and not having Weisswurst for every breakfast.
With eggs.
Shut up! No, I'm gonna smack you if you ever make eggs to your Weisswurst while you're here in Germany. I'm gonna smack you.
Scrambled eggs go really well with them, man.
Doesn't matter what goes well with them, you don't do that.
Why?
Because it's tradition to eat them with brezen and...
tradition. You sound like, oh, are you going with it? Because the old people didn't have the ones in power don't have the internet. They don't care about the internet.
Shut up.
So
don't
you just
take
like
my words and use them.
Are you just like them?
Favor.
Just like them, M? That's why I call you Eminem. Are you just like them, M? Huh? Exactly, man. You just bad, man. Times are changing, man. So we might want to have vice versa with scrambled eggs or omelets. You know.
If you're here in April and you eat that shit.
No, I'm telling you, I'm gonna make them for you.
No.
I'm not
gonna eat that.
I am. See, listeners, you could tell we love each other. See. All right. Well, I guess with that we can end.
Yes, and I hope that this time, because we didn't mention it during the podcast, but we wanted to put it on iTunes, maybe this time we're gonna achieve that.
Yeah, good luck with that. good luck with that.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, hopefully you don't regret listening to this podcast. Ooh, because we didn't censor anything. You see what I did there? Yeah. Oh man.
We never get censored.
Those are bars, man. Bars. You don't even know what I mean by bars?
No.
Oh my god, see, look at you. See, when a rapper raps and says some like really dope shit, you just say that's bars.
Okay.
That was bars. That was what I said. I mean, I didn't rhyme, but whatever. It doesn't matter.
Thanks everybody for listening.
Bye.